Googly Moogly. Wednesday, April the 12th. My name is Sean Carrier. Thank you for watching Bet Edge. We're fresh off another winner in the association last night. As promised, the Los Angeles Lakers getting it done on their home floor, defeating the New Orleans Pelicans, cashing the ticket, getting the job done, adding those units to the bankroll. And we're back today with hopefully more of the same. We've got the last day of the NBA regular season. A very weird board in the NBA today. 12 games and a bunch of teams that really need a win here on the last day, but they're just priced. They're just priced out of range. I mean, I can't lay 13 points with Chicago or 14 points with the Celtics. So these point spreads just getting way too high. But really, I don't trust any of those teams that are getting double-digit points either. I mean, I'm not lining up to bet on the Brooklyn Nets resting players on the last day of the NBA season. I mean, what is that, right? You got 4 months to rest. But nonetheless, we do have, there is one pick on the board that did really stand out to us, and we expect to make some money with this selection. So let's dive right in. The Detroit Pistons are traveling to Orlando to take on the Orlando Magic. And I don't think I've done this all year long, but we're going to recommend a one-unit selection on the Orlando Magic at home tonight. We like them to get it done and win their last home game of the year. So let's dive right into this pick. It starts with Detroit's away record of 13-27 for a team that probably should have been in the playoffs this year. That is a terrible road record, and it's probably the reason that they're shining up those golf clubs right now, right? I mean, this will be their last game of the year, and they might have the road record to thank for that. There is some things here in the recent meetings. Orlando has won the last two matchups between these two teams, and this last game on the 24th of March, this was a game that Detroit really needed to win. This is when they were right in the thick of things in the battle for that 8th and final playoff spot, and they came into Orlando and laid an egg. And seeing as Orlando's beaten them the last 2 times, this might just be a bad matchup for Detroit. Stan Van Gundy team, he likes to have a center on the floor pretty much at all times, especially with Andre Drummond. And Orlando likes to do the same. With Nick Vucevic, Bismack Biyombo, Aaron Gordon, they pretty much have 2 bigs on the floor at all times. And to tell you the truth, I like Orlando's perimeter players more, or at least I trust them more. Alfred Payton has had a great close to the season, a few triple-doubles. He looks like he's a player that is improving and getting better. And Evan Fournier, a quality NBA basketball player, maybe not a starter, but a quality player. And I like the addition of Terrence Ross for this Orlando team also. I think he just gives them some shooting, helps them spread the floor. Just a complement of players that I trust more than, say, Ish Smith or Contavious Caldwell-Pope. I mean, I don't know. Detroit definitely needs some help at the guard position in the offseason. But they're not going to get it tonight, and that could definitely work against them in this game. Detroit's recent form here, definitely not a lot to write home about. Only 3 wins in their last 10 games. And the real thing for me here, this last game was their last home game, facing a Wizards team that was resting players, really playing with no intensity. And Detroit just couldn't even get up enough to defeat this Washington team in their last home game. You know, it's a spot where, especially teams that are going to miss the playoffs, you like to put a good effort in your last home game. It just gives your fans kind of some hope for the off season. You know, some things to build on. Just some good takeaways, and Detroit was not able to do that. And if you just kind of look at the way they closed the year, they were in that race for the playoff spot, and they didn't get eliminated from it. They eliminated themselves. There were games, just like that Orlando game I illustrated, that they gave away. I believe there was a Brooklyn game right before that they lost. Also, I think a game against Chicago. Also, they were not able to defeat their inferior opponents. to get into the playoffs. And I mean, that's the spot you want to be in when you're chasing a final playoff spot. You want to see Brooklyn, Orlando, and Chicago on your schedule. Those should be wins, and Detroit was not able to convert those into W's. And I think it just speaks to something wrong with this team. I don't think they enjoy playing with each other, and I don't think they're having fun playing basketball right now. And I think it shows in their effort. And we're going to bet against that effort tonight. I mean, it's a profitable angle if you're betting against this Detroit team in their last 10. I mean, not a lot of W's, and that should continue tonight. Orlando, I mean, it's not like Orlando's a world beater. They're not playing great basketball right now either. But this is their last home game. And as I said, it's a spot where teams that are going to miss the playoffs usually show up with a good effort just for the fans. You know what I mean? And another thing that I think could give them some motivation tonight, this last game they played, lost by nearly 50 points to the Chicago Bulls. This is an angle I like to use in pretty much all sports. When a team comes off a loss as bad as this, you usually see a good effort from that team in their next matchup. It's just a point of personal pride. It's got to insult you as a professional athlete when you lose games in this fashion. So I'm going to look for a bounce back from Orlando tonight, and they should put forth a good effort, just being their last home game of the year. Referees for tonight's affair, we've got Tony Brown, James Capers, and Steven Anderson. Not a terrible crew at all. Not the best officials in the NBA, but I don't mind any of those gentlemen. Not too much in the day's rest here. Both teams coming off that NBA average 1 day's rest. And if this is a game you really want to win for whatever reason, I mean, there's nothing to rest for. You know, you can leave it all out there on the floor, being the last game of the NBA season. Injury report: Pistons still without Reggie Jackson and Bennett Udrich also. So lots of minutes for Ish Smith. I don't know how well that's going to work out for them, to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't mind Ish Smith. I actually prefer him to Reggie Jackson. But I don't know if you want 40 minutes of Ish Smith. Right? I mean, I don't think that's a recipe for W's. So we'll dive right into the summary here and the stat graphic. Detroit, only 13 road wins all year. That's something you can bet against and usually be profitable with, especially when you're getting almost even money here on the Orlando Magic. Orlando has won the last 2 games against Detroit. Possibly a good matchup for this Orlando team for those size reasons and perimeter player edge that we were talking about earlier. Detroit, I failed to mention this when we were going through Detroit's recent history, but their 6th consecutive court change. So winding down the end of the year here, they've got to be a little angry. They're probably a little tired. They've been going in and out of cities for the better part of 2 weeks here, and now finishing up the season on the road. They could definitely be a team just mailing it in tonight. We're going to look for that. Detroit 3-7 straight up in their last 10. Not a dangerous team right now, and they did not show up for their last home game. And if they didn't put forth a quality effort there, I don't think we're going to see a quality effort from Detroit tonight. This last point I didn't mention earlier, but I was reading some things from Stan Van Gundy. He will be starting Stanley Johnson and John Lure tonight in place of Marcus Morris and I believe Tobias Harris. So you're going to see a starting lineup that features Ish Smith, Stanley Johnson, and John Lure. In my estimation, the best 2 players on that Detroit roster are Tobias Harris and Morris. So if their minutes are going to be limited, I would imagine that would work against the Pistons tonight. So there's not too much in the stat graphic here. Detroit has an edge in every one of these categories, but that made me bet on this Detroit team in their last game against Orlando, and they got absolutely hammered. So maybe just a bad matchup for this Detroit team, as we've said. And I think Orlando will be the much more motivated bunch. And skill-wise, very even. So we're going to take that motivation to the bank tonight. Enough reasons for us to pull the trigger with the Orlando Magic, a 1-unit selection minus the 2 points at home tonight. So put it on the board. Magic going to get it done tonight. Grow that bankroll, and it should be a winner for all of us. So we hope this video helps all of your selections in the NBA tonight. We'll be back strong later this week with a full playoff preview. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're not doing so already, follow us on Twitter at bet_edge. That's our homepage, all our picks, videos.